All right. Well, everyone, I'm Adam Papagan. Welcome to another episode of There's a Place, the ASMR talk show, the show that feels good to hear. ASMR is, of course, the little tingles your brain gives you when you hear soft, delicate talking or sounds, but just soft noises. So that's what this interview show is all about. I'm going to start off some current events kind of stuff, some observations. Halloween weekend, this past weekend. Here's the deal. Party holidays. New Year's is different because it's you get off work the next day. It's a holiday. But a party holiday like Halloween should really be on a set day of the week, like a Friday or Saturday, every year, not just floating around. Because you get a situation like this year, Halloween's on a Monday, you're expected to do parties basically 4 nights out of the week. If there's people don't want to do it after Halloween, sometimes a weekday, you could get roped into things. So yeah, I just don't have it in me these days to go to 4 or 5 parties. So I'm just, wiped from the weekend going to all these Halloween parties. Had a lot of fun. Saturday was really the biggest mess. I went to the Highland Park neighborhood. Literally on every block there was a house party going on, and it was like whatever type of hurt Highland Park hipster you are, there was like a house party for it. There was like a crappy apartment house party, like just graduated college, moved out to LA. Some of my other friends from college are out here playing rap music. There was the rock and roll all night party every day. Kind of the sun is not set on your youth house party. There was like the older, got a couple of kids, but we're still cool house party. But basically, you go into this war zone and you just have to caravan from house to house. And you get to see the inside of people's houses. That's cool. I always like to see how people live. But these yuppies, they don't know how to party. That's all I can say. They're not used to it. They've got lives. They got their priorities. So that was the weakest one. Now, flash forward to Monday night, the actual day of Halloween. The Scum Boys, they've been on the show, were throwing a Halloween party. So not men of means, by no means. Young guys, maybe not as much experience throwing parties, but this party, open bar and free marijuana cigarettes at the door. $5 entry fee, but that's so much cheaper than you would spend going out. And I didn't have to stop at a liquor store on my way to a party, which is just the tackiest thing ever. People throwing a party and not providing things. So the lesson I really learned this Halloween is it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, doesn't matter what else is going on. There's no excuse not to be a good host and have a good party and provide your guests with an unforgettable experience. Folks, my guest tonight is a comedian, an improviser, a true hard worker because he was on a plane earlier and he's sick and he's just got a bunch of stuff on his plate in general, all the shows he produces and stuff. But interesting cat. Please welcome Jason Van Glass. Now, you said you were sick.
Yeah.
So we won't shake hands.
No.
I appreciate that. Although I noticed when we saw each other outside, we did the elbow bump to not touch, which is fine. But when you sneeze, do you do this move?
You're very contaminated now.
Yeah.
Nothing is safe.
They're trying to convince us. It happened about the same time. The sneeze into your arm and the, this is an alternative. I don't know. It's bad. Just shows
I think we should just
like a telepathic thing.
just acknowledge we don't need to ever shake hands.
No. You know what? And I don't think we ever have shaken hands in the past.
No, there's no need to.
No. Why start now?
Right. It's archaic.
It is.
Yeah.
And maybe a little sexist.
It just seems like a waste of time.
Yeah, you can just do the peace sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. How's your flight?
It was good. I took Spirit Air.
Ooh.
Yeah, but it was only from Portland, so it's like the shortest flight. Normally I would have spent for something else, but it was like $50 more. And since it was only a 2-hour flight, it was fine. Also, the plane wasn't full, so it worked out okay. But
Did you have a bag with you?
just a backpack.
Which they charge for?
Yeah, no, they don't charge for you can have a personal item.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I took Spirit once. It was only one way, so I thought I could like cheap out. So I wore all my clothes for a couple days on my body.
Sure.
It's a real cheapskate move.
You could bring a purse or a backpack.
Okay, good to know.
Anything that fits under the seat in front of you.
Any babies on the flight?
No. Not coming back.
But usually when you fly, there is a baby on the plane, right?
Yeah. I don't know why. Like, why would you? It doesn't make sense.
There's an inordinate amount of babies in the air at any given time.
That have a lot of air travel
Yeah.
that they need to do.
Cross country.
Sure.
And you're only a baby for what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, I don't even go on a plane. But once a year I get on an airplane.
It's also, I don't know, depending on how far you're going. If you have that many family members, the economics of driving makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly from like LA to San Francisco.
A baby can't drive though.
Right, but if it has like 4 other people with it,
Oh.
you're buying a whole plane ticket for this, but you could just drive. It'd be cheaper to drive.
Yeah, more considerate.
And it would take the same amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you didn't see any babies tonight.
No.
What were you doing up in Portland?
Just hanging out, doing some stand-up. Booked it last minute. Went up for Halloween. Was in a couple's costume with my friend.
Okay.
It was a deep cut. We were from the Mitchell and Webb look, which is a British sketch show.
Yeah, Peep Show. Same guys.
They did make Peep Show, and we were Angel Summoner and the BMX Bandit from their great sketch of the same name. And most people, rightly, maybe don't know what that is. They should know what it is, but I didn't expect people to know what it is. But the people that did know were very excited.
How many people knew?
10.
10?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Out of like more than 100.
But that show was on like 15 years ago, wasn't it?
It's on YouTube. And then I did go viral on Twitter with it, so it all worked out.
Oh, that's great.
I got both Mitchell and Webb to retweet.
Both of them?
They both got a double retweet. So it resonated with the people that mattered.
Have you ever had that much success at Halloween before?
No, or on Twitter. It's my most successful tweet by far.
When you can latch on,
I don't want to brag. 3 new followers.
that's a lot
Sure.
in this day and age.
David Mitchell retweeted it to 2 million people, and I got 3 new followers.
That's pretty good, because all they know of your work is that costume.
Right. They don't know anything of my work.
But that was enough to be like, you know what? This is my kind of guy.
Yes.
This is my guy here.
So it was a pretty good weekend.
Do you think having the celebrity connection helped the costume? That it was, because I mean, you could think of the greatest Halloween costume
No, it
on
would
your
not have
own.
gone viral except that they retweeted it, but they did. I tweeted at them. And
Oh, you tweeted at them.
yeah,
so it's kind
I
of
said,
targeted.
Well, how would they see it otherwise?
Maybe it was
But I
so
mean, if you
viral
made-
they couldn't escape it.
If you made a sketch and then 20 years later, for the first time ever, somebody dressed up as from that sketch, I think that's a fair thing to be like. You'd want to know about it.
Yeah, it's considerate, for sure.
Especially since it seems like maybe no one's ever. I thought maybe people had done it before, but apparently not.
And 10 people knew who it was.
Yeah.
But you were probably with a pretty hip
Yeah.
stand-up crowd.
Oh well,
Comedy crowd.
I did shows dressed as just my half of it, and so at some of the shows, I polled the audience, just out of curiosity.
Can you really trust the audience, though?
Sure.
Don't clap for anything.
Oh, but I ask.
So who?
I have like a. Yeah, I don't do round of applause.
Oh.
I ask the audience to clap once, and then you count.
Oh.
So I ask them if they're on Vine,
Wait,
just
clap-
clap once. And then at one show I asked, because an earlier comic had asked by round of applause who had been born in Portland. It sounded like just one person out of like 50 at the show in Portland had been born in Portland. So I followed up on that. I said, if you were born in Portland, please clap once. And then I sub-polled that person based on where they were in the room. And it was like, if you're okay with all of these people being here, please clap once. And then he didn't clap. So I was pulling him on all sorts of stuff.
You're gonna get jumped in the parking lot.
I'm the Nate Silver of comedy.
Nate Silver is, of course,
A famous pollster.
Oh, yes. Kind of ironic that...
Well, not a pollster, but a poll analyst.
But I think the majority of people wouldn't know that. So if you took a poll, like his life's work is interpreting...
He's much more famous than
designing
this costume or either of us.
Huh. Might be a good one for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people know what he looks like per se, but he's very well known.
You could
538.com. That's him.
So this is a couple's costume. Does your friend who you were in the costume with live in Portland?
Yeah.
So you traveled?
Well, I was going up there to see him, and then I said, hey, let's do this. And he was into it, so then we arranged our costumes and met. Because I had thought of doing this costume like 4 years ago, and then it came back to me, and I was like, oh, this is perfect.
You never knew anyone?
Well, yeah, and my half is the BMX Bandit. He's quite good at BMXing.
Did you have the bike?
I didn't.
Hard to take on the plane.
Yeah. And he was the angel summoner, who has the power to summon angels. They're a crime fighting duo.
You didn't do any actual crime fighting, though, in Portland?
No. No, it's a pretty safe place.
Just a costume.
I didn't see any crime.
You were in the wrong part of town. Or the right part of town.
It's a pretty small town.
Yeah, you could bike around. There's a lot of biking there.
Yeah.
So Jason, anytime somebody comes on the show with what the industry terms as a unique look, I always like to ask them about that.
Okay.
Or a stage name. Like if a rapper comes on,
Sure.
I feel like they're kind of in the same basket, you know, kind of something to hang your hat on a little bit. So you've got the mohawk thing going, bright colors. I've noticed the color of the hair changes. But when did the look come about, first of all?
Years before I was doing comedy.
Interesting.
So it's, if anything, it's toned down. Because it's not professional to wear blue pants on stage.
So you would kind of like dress like Party Monster?
No, I just like thrift store clothing.
But just like the loudest stuff you could find?
Just like unusual. Own like some nice like 80s ski jackets. So it wasn't influenced by any other thing I was seeing. It was just like thrift store clothing. So if I found something unusual at a thrift store, I'd wear it.
And did that come before the hair?
No, I had all sorts of color. I've been, coloring my hair since late 90s.
So all over. And then you had to drop your look to succeed in comedy.
No, I think it's like working somewhere. It's like any job. I think it's just like you have to address it otherwise. I don't have any material about the way I dress or whatever. But I think it's unprofessional to not wear shoes on stage.
You weren't wearing shoes?
No, but I mean, that's just one example.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Like, there's nothing wrong with wearing shorts, but I would not do it as a stand-up comedian. It's not professional.
What about swim trunks?
Very unprofessional.
You can make it your vibe. I saw Jimmy Buffett perform a concert, or swim trunks on stage.
Sounds like
swim trunks and flip-flops.
Sounds like he's really falling apart.
Like he's about to fall into the ocean. Cool dip. How often do you color the hair?
About as often as I cut it, every 3 weeks or so. Not much thought has gone into it.
Did you ever hit a color you don't like?
Well, I mostly stick to like blue or pink.
And you're a model in Japan?
Yes.
So have you been to Japan to do modeling?
No, but I have been to Japan separately in an unrelated part of my life.
Did you see yourself on billboards?
No. I'm a catalog model.
Okay.
I'm a low-paid catalog model for the Rolling Stones collection of clothing in Japan. So a website model, but I am the main male model for the line for the last 2 collections.
They take the pictures here in LA?
Yeah, they take the pictures out in Venice in front of murals.
Do you do any modeling stateside?
No.
How'd this come about?
Facebook, just like randomly.
See, I'm on Facebook a heck of a lot.
Well, they were looking for a small-bodied punk rock model.
There's a unique look.
And I am small-bodied.
Working for you.
So I applied, and it turned out the photographer was like a improviser, who I sort of knew at the time, and also it was extremely low paid.
Makes the gig a little easier to get.
And so I got the job, even though the Japanese photography or middleman company, the company that was producing the shoot, had no idea that I spoke Japanese or had been to Japan.
You speak Japanese?
That was just like a huge surprise to them.
That's a surprise to me.
What a happy surprise.
So were they trying to lowball you? And then
No, they were very nice, but I mean, they don't ever meet anybody that speaks Japanese, and so they had brought me out just for this, based on like a photo of me. And I was able to show up and be like, oh, hajimemashite, dozo yoroshiku.
How long have you been speaking Japanese?
I mean, I lived in Japan. I did a semester in Japan, which was just 4 months, and then after that, after I graduated college, I did like 3 years of Japanese at community college, and then I never used it again. But it paid off on this one gig that I'd already booked.
Yeah.
Where I could like charm Japanese people. You speak any Japanese people are very impressed because they never meet anybody that speaks any Japanese.
I'll tell you what, Jason, I'm American, and I'm pretty darn impressed that you speak Japanese.
You only need to know how to say like 5 things.
It's any language though, right?
Yeah. I think especially Japanese because they're one of the only countries that likes us. And I think they're just like...
Yeah, they love anything American.
They're just like really
there.
happy if you like to meet anybody that knows anything about them.
Why the interest in Japanese culture? I mean, it's not like you're the only person who's interested in that, but anime was sort of your gateway?
No.
No.
Most of the people in my Japanese language class were into anime. I used to collect like toys, so that's part of it. So it was the pop culture, but I was never like huge into anime. I like Totoro. I like the movies. I like Miyazaki movies, but I wasn't into Dragon Ball or other TV animated shows. I think I just like the Japanese toys and especially Japanese live action movies in the 80s. Some of my favorite movies, Tom Popo. And I like Meiji Restoration era, like Japanese history, where they go from being a feudal society in like 1865 to being like a modern society in like 1870. So they go from being like, in terms of like the social structure, equivalent to like the Middle Ages of Europe, in terms of having like fiefdoms and lords and everyone's got swords and all this stuff, to having like steam engines and all this reform in a 5-year period. And they've actually gone through those kind of flips like multiple times.
Tell me about your toy collection.
Mm-hmm.
Your toy collection.
Well, I don't collect too many things anymore, but I have a complete set of Muscle, M.U.S.C.L.E, which was a American toy line based on a Japanese toy line called Kinnikuman. And in Japan it has comic books and cartoons, but none of that stuff was translated or brought over here in the 80s. We just got the toys. They're little plastic eraser wrestler men. And they were like 4 for $1. You'd get a 4-pack of random ones, but there's several hundred different ones. But they're all based on an elaborate wrestling comic book, and so every design was like very elaborate. But as American kids, we didn't have any backstory or anything, so you got to make up whatever you wanted about them. Whereas with any other toy line, you already know what the storyline is. So they're these little wrestling rubber guys.
You have all of them?
Yeah.
Do you play with your toys?
No.
You ever thought about it?
No.
You just like to look at them in the boxes?
I mean, I don't even have them here in LA.
Oh.
I do like having them though.
That they're somewhere.
I mean, it was a set to complete. None are, for the most part, none are particularly rare than the others. So it was just about like completing like a complete set of something that is. Each one's interesting.
See, if I had any toys, I would play with them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
How much could you like the toys if you didn't play with them?
I mean, I appreciate
Their
them.
primary function, though, is to be played with and enjoyed.
Yeah, but the ones I like, I think, are the Japanese have an aesthetic concept called wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi?
Yes, and this dates back hundreds of years. So in Japanese pottery, what makes a pot valuable isn't that you have like 10 pieces of china that are the same. It's that the pot has been deformed. So maybe it cracked or corroded in the firing. It has a unique shape, and it has a unique like firing where it's imperfect. And the perfection like represents the way a branch grows in nature. So they have a very different aesthetic in Japan, at least some people do, in that sense that it's like a Western person might want like a perfect version of something, and if you were buying china, you'd want every plate to match. But like a Japanese vase is most valuable if it has a history to it. And in some sense, the same is true of their toys. So a toy with a name written on the bottom isn't necessarily worth less in Japan because it's the name of that kid that owned it.
Mm.
And the paintware, if it's a nice paintware, might add value to it versus no paintware or bad paintware. So I think the toys I have just like an aesthetic value. It's not about function.
Guitars are like that in America. That's pretty much the only thing, though, that does the wabi-sabi.
Yeah.
The most valuable thing, if you ever want to start collecting guitars, you flip it over, and it's got a mark from where the guy's belt buckle was hitting it every night while he's playing it. Mm-hmm. That's like cha-ching.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want. I know you're really busy.
I don't want to start collecting anything.
Okay.
I have enough stuff.
What other kind of stuff do you have?
So much stuff.
Do you have records?
Yes.
Okay. Lots of records?
Thousands.
Heavy to transport.
Yeah.
What kind of music are you into?
I don't really like music, but I do have thousands of records.
So spoken word? Sound effects, things like that?
No, there's like 3 bands I like.
And you have all 350 releases from each.
I wish. That is like a goal I think about sometimes. One of my favorite bands is the Yellow Magic Orchestra.
What's that?
It's a trio. It's sort of Kraftwerk for Japan. They were the most famous band in Japan in the late 70s. They were the Beatles of Japan. But in terms of sound, they're not like the Beatles. In terms of sound, they're like Kraftwerk or prog rock, New Order. There are 3 studio musicians who had already been doing other stuff. And this side project, which is why it has a dumb name, it was just like a one-off, became hugely successful.
Yellow Magic what?
All 3 of Yellow Magic Orchestra.
Orchestra. It's like yellow. Instead of Electric Light, it was
Yes.
Yellow Magic.
And it's because the first album, all 3 of them were interested in electronic music. So they were studio musicians that knew how to play drums and piano and bass. They were all in the late 70s interested in drum machines and synthesizers. And so their first album, they covered American exotica music. So they covered pseudo-Asian songs that came out of America in the 50s, but on synthesizers. And that's why they're called the Yellow Magic Orchestra. But then it became a hit, and they just started making original music. they're still making music to this day, and in Japan they're quite well known. And in fact, the piano player here is a composer for film scores. So I know he did The Revenant this year. He's certainly an Academy Award nominee. I'm not sure if he's won, but has been working in American film scores for 20 years. But there's no limit on the amount of music they can generate. Like, they're still well known in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so the three of them, between them, have like 1,000 albums.
Oh, and so you're just any appearance, you seem like you know about a lot of like esoteric stuff like this.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of in that camp too, although you're telling me wabi-sabi. I mean,
I have a lot of free time.
that's some good stuff. What's your, when you're trying to get some like primo obscure information, what's your strategy? Like what?
About what?
About anything that you might be interested in. Like these wrestling toys.
Just Google it.
Magic stuff. But what is the impetus for the Google search? You didn't just put Yellow Magic Orchestra together.
Right. I mean, I think I found an album of that somewhere and then liked it and then figured out what it was.
You just kind of go deeper into the...
Yeah. I think we bought it randomly, my roommate and I in college, at a music store. Because it looked weird, it looked interesting. We liked Japanese things.
Yeah. When you found out it was Japanese, that really sweetened it?
I mean, I think we bought it because it was Japanese, but also the it just looked interesting. It was $4. And then it was interesting. It's like Kraftwerk. It's great.
What are the other two bands you like?
I like the Pixies.
Okay.
I don't collect anything by them, but...
Records from that era are a little pricey.
I mean, if I found one for $1, I'd buy it.
Of
Every record I
course.
have, I paid $1 for.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
And I have thousands of them.
Thousands of dollars. Sitting in your apartment.
Yeah. Most of them are not in my apartment, but this year I have acquired many records.
Jason, we should probably at some point talk about comedy. How's that Sudafed working for you?
Pretty good.
You're sick. I know you're floating a little bit.
I feel fine.
Okay.
Sudafed's great.
Yeah, hoping you get kind of a little buzz.
I mean, I have attention deficit disorder, so for me, it really does. It's a nice drug.
Did you have ADD as a kid?
Yeah, but I didn't start taking medicine for it until I was an adult.
Do you think, so are you one of these people, if you took it as an adult, you probably really have ADD?
Yeah.
Because you always hear about
I definitely really have it.
the kids, because every once in a while, you always hear about the kids being over-medicated or whatever. It's overprescribed, overdiagnosed.
That's overstated. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's also conveniently like exactly Scientology's take on it. We spend a lot of money every year because they don't believe in psychiatric medicine, and so they're especially alarmed in their religion about children being treated psychiatrically versus a fully consenting adult. And so they really, because of those beliefs, they really push a anti-psychiatric medication publications and stuff. And I'm not saying no child has ever been given like Ritalin they didn't need, but also the side effect of that is nothing. like it's not a dangerous drug to take. And I certainly wish I had been given it. I think that phobia stopped me from receiving the medicine I was supposed to receive as a child.
Vaccination thing, it's the same.
Yeah, like I definitely have attention deficit disorder. Ritalin's changed my life. Only positively. Transformative effect. It gave me agency, gave me the ability to choose how to spend my time.
So what was your life like before the Ritalin?
I just wasn't doing anything.
Oh, when you say you weren't doing anything?
Like, at all.
You would just sit at home?
I mean, I had the time to take 3 years of Japanese at community college for no reason.
Point taken, that's true. Well, the modeling gig.
Yeah, I mean,
everything happens for a reason.
Later I found out I was supposed to be a model in Japan, but it's just a coincidence.
And then after, because even with that agency, didn't you have to train yourself a little bit to actually go do things? To get things accomplished?
No, because I think attention deficit disorder was stopping me from doing things I did want to do. Even not even necessarily productive things, but like watching a DVD, starting the DVD, finishing the DVD is something that I couldn't do because I have too much, like my natural state is to like leave, just like always ready to go somewhere.
Do you ever think you could do without the Ritalin?
No, because Ritalin, you either take it or you don't, and it works for like 6 hours. So it's not something you like build up in your system. So when I don't take it, then nothing happens. Like nothing gets done. I basically just like sleep all day.
When you go on vacation, do you ever leave the Ritalin at home or like take a vacation from yourself?
No, I mean every once in a while I miss I take it twice a day, and every once in a while I miss one or decide not to. But it's such a night and day difference in terms of just having agency over my own initiative, even if it's just to like read something or watch something separate from like getting work done of some kind.
Speaking of working, so I've gone through your Facebook page to gather information for this interview.
Great.
A lot of flyers and stuff of comedy shows you're on.
Sure.
Okay, a little observation I made. The main difference between alt comedy and like regular club comedy, the flyers are like just like a regular flyer, like they look nice, all the information's easy to read and stuff. Just or like a bar show or whatever, just like people who are just kind of like not like as hip. It's the ugliest flyer. It's so hard to read. It's got like bad clip art everywhere.
Well, I make all my own flyers.
But ones that you're on and stuff.
Probably what you're seeing is like mostly flyers I designed.
The good ones.
Using the one Photoshop class I took at community college 10 years ago. It's really paid off. The best college class. I graduated college, but the best college class I ever took was a Photoshop class at community college because I'm still using it.
So you did college and you went back to community college?
Well, I wasn't allowed to take art classes in college because I wasn't an art major. And I wanted to do Japanese, but I had failed out in college. Still went to Japan, but I'd previously failed out of Japanese because it's hard. I didn't have Ritalin, and everyone else already knew how to speak it. So a couple years after graduating college, with nothing else going on, I started taking like Japanese at night, and then I started taking like printmaking and other art classes during the day.
When your classmates at community college found out you had been to regular college, were they impressed? Like,
no, I mean like half the people.
He's been to the top of the mountain. He's returned.
Half the people in an art class at community college are middle-aged women. They're not transferring somewhere. I wasn't taking like intro essay writing or whatever. I wasn't taking like prereqs.
Bio 1.
I was taking just electives that were interesting.
And you liked community college better than regular college?
No, but the best class, the most relevant class to my life, like that Photoshop class, has really been helpful.
You should write that instructor an email.
I don't even remember who it was.
I just happen to have the course catalog.
Be like, hey, 10 years ago, you gave me the skills to make flyers.
Yeah.
For unpaid comedy shows around Los Angeles.
And I do several a week, and all sorts of people's names have been on them.
Sure.
And they've been shared around the internet.
Yeah.
It's all because I bet it would make his day.
Yeah. He doesn't need to know about this.
Doesn't need. I'm gonna do that. Just some random Photoshop teacher. Just gonna find an email online, but hey, you probably don't remember me. Took your class a couple years ago. It's helped me a lot. This really is just a nice thing to do. Spread a little joy. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. Well, I do bring joy to people.
But not in a way that like is. You bring joy in like your own way. I'm saying in like a way that you're not used to, where you would get nothing out of it. So you bring joy to people with your comedy, but you're like you get to perform.
I also get nothing out of it.
That's true. Well, yeah, that's another thing. So you're pretty.
I mean, I don't want to complain. It's going better than ever, but
Yeah, but on the other hand, you must, because you do a lot of improv and a lot of stand-up. At some points, do you ever just kind of stop and be like, you know, I could do neither of these things. Like, I don't have to do
But
these.
then what would you do?
That's the question. But
I mean, you have to have an answer to that. Because I already did nothing for a long time. This is way better.
having something to do.
Oh, it's the best.
That you can focus on.
Having like something that you like care about. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Something other than Japanese class.
Yeah, that was fun for a while, but
Got your credits. You weren't transferring.
yeah, I already knew I wasn't living in Japan or whatever. It's just out of curiosity.
Did you do improv first or stand up first?
Stand up.
And what was the impetus to start the improv?
I'd never seen it before moving here, but I started going to UCB when I got here, and I think the first class was just like I was new to stand up, so the first improv class, I think like a big part of it was just like getting comfortable on stage. It wasn't anything more than that. But then the more I did it, the more interested I got in it.
I saw you do improv with alt comedy legend Emo Phillips.
Sure.
That was a great show. How'd that all come about? So it's just the two of you guys.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy. That's
Funny
that's
people
the short
usually
version
are.
of that story.
Yeah.
The long version is not interesting. The short version is that he's just like a really genuinely nice person and like very open.
And the long version is you asked him and he said yes.
Yeah.
Why him of all comedians?
I'd been on a stand-up show that he'd co-hosted, and I'm a fan of his. So I'd met him, sort of, and he was super nice. He was like very friendly. And originally the show that I was proposing for him to do was going to be like convenient for him. So it was a modest proposal in that, oh, it'd be fun to do this, and all he'd have to do is like walk upstairs after this other thing he'll be at. And then the show's in a totally different place, but it turns out he's really into it. He's gung-ho about it.
It was funny, something I took away from it, because he doesn't do improv, right, normally?
Right.
But he was really funny because he's a professional comedian who's been at it for
He's an
years.
insanely good riffer as a stand-up.
Yeah.
So he is a stand-up improviser, but he's not a long-form improviser per se.
Yeah, but I feel like with improv, there's all these rules and stuff. You got to keep track of them. Everybody gets, nitpicky about it. But then the other approach is you can just be funny.
Yeah, and I think those rules are just formalizing what's true. But if he's been doing comedy for 30 years, including things that are pretty closely related to this, and it's like it is just funnier to say yes. If you say no, then nothing happened.
Exactly. What's that outfit he was wearing? Does he always wear that outfit every time you see him? The tweed, pants and big shirt.
It's not always exactly the same, but
That was weird because it was like a suit material.
yeah,
It was a short sleeve shirt.
I don't remember.
It was a weird outfit. We talk about dressing professional on stage.
Yeah.
I don't know. He didn't need to address it though. It's probably just the clothes he has. But then how do you pick that look? Interesting guy. Is he always in character every time you talk to him?
Not off stage.
But he doesn't he's like, oh, that was a great show. And then he turns around to you and is like, these cocksuckers over here. He doesn't.
No, he is both himself, but it is also a character for sure.
Yeah.
And that was part of why I felt confident pitching this thing originally was my limited encounters with him. He had been such a nice person, such a real person, with no reason to hang out and talk to the other comics on the show, but did it and he'd actually co-hosted the stand-up show, and then in between hosting would run out of the green room and watch everyone's set, so that afterwards he could give them just real compliments, which I don't watch other stand-ups.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does.
I thought he was
You took advantage of his kind nature a little bit.
It just seemed like he just seemed like a really nice guy, and I suggested it. It's luckily he said yes, and we do it regularly now.
Yeah, it's a great show. Okay, one thing I did want to ask you about. So on the Facebook, you really learn a lot about somebody on Facebook. You said something on National Coming Out Day. You're not
Yeah.
L, G, B, or T, but you are Q.
That's right.
So what does that mean?
I'm asexual.
Okay.
We don't get a letter in the acronym.
So Q is just sort of like...
Q is for queer.
Right.
And asexuality is one of the many things that can make you queer. We just don't get our own letter.
But I always thought queer was just like gay culture.
I think it's a catch-all for any non-conforming.
So who's queer? Asexuals? Are all the other 4 letters also Qs?
Yeah. I think the Q is like etc.
Would you like your own letter in the acronym? The acronym just keeps getting longer and longer.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
You're asexual.
Yeah.
For how long have you been asexual?
Oh, you're born that way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you have no feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, some asexuals are oriented, like gay or straight, and some are not. But the defining characteristic is a indifference.
So you're totally indifferent to men or women.
Yeah.
Can you see a beautiful woman and be like, oh, she's got it going on? Not for me, but like...
Yeah, but it doesn't mean any, it's not...
But can you recognize when
Like,
someone's attractive?
You're not gay?
No.
So yeah, Brad Pitt's good looking, but you're not seeing Brad Pitt somewhere and like, it doesn't generate any sort of lust for you.
No, but if I see a good looking guy, I'll be like, that guy's pretty good looking.
Right, and so it's like that, but for both.
Okay. So you
I don't really notice it, but I'm like, I agree, like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are hot people.
They're
or
hot,
whatever,
right?
But it's not, I never see anybody and think about it in a lustful way.
Do you know other asexual people?
No, we're pretty quiet.
Do you think if you ever met one, you guys would like, well, I'm asexual, you would like be instant friends or something?
You know, I pitched that. No, Janine Garofalo is asexual.
Oh, she is.
And I met her at Bridgetown.
Didn't she date Ben Stiller?
Yeah.
Didn't really do it for her, I guess.
She lives with a man, but it's maybe platonic.
Okay.
But she talks about it on stage. She identifies as asexual. And I met her. I met her at Bridgetown, and that was definitely like oh, I should like say hello to this person because I've basically never met any other asexuals. But we don't hang out now.
Do you ever miss like the companionship you would have from a romantic relationship, or like the other stuff that goes with it beyond the sexual stuff?
It'd be fun to go out to dinner or something. But I'm also an only child, and so yeah, like it'd be fun to have a partner to do things with, but it's not
Doesn't weigh on you.
yeah, there's no component of it that's like sexual in nature.
You don't feel like you're missing out on anything? Do you ever wish that you were sexual?
No.
You seem pretty disinterested in it.
I mean, I am probably missing out on stuff, but I can't, whatever. It's just the way I was born.
Yeah. Do you find that, this is because I've never met another asexual person.
Yeah, we don't do parades.
Yeah. Do you ever find when you tell people that it's kind of a tough pill to like people can't really wrap their head around it?
I don't bring it up very often, but every once in a while, like someone will think that I was like raised like really religious, which is not true. Parents are very liberal atheists. They always think it's like, some people think it's like, oh, but you're secretly gay, and it's like, that would be great. People have heard of that. Like,
yeah, right.
There's clubs for that. Like, I don't know what. So yeah, but I don't bring it up too often.
Okay. Well, thank you for your candor here tonight.
I mean, I'm happy to talk about it, but it's also like, you know, to me, it's not something that's like, it's like, it's probably what other people would define, like say it was like a defining characteristic of me, but I don't think about it every day.
Interesting. Jason, we are almost out of time, but what?
I was just joking.
You don't believe me?
I just did a take to straight to believe the camera.
Oh. Yeah. So you got, what shows you got? You got Gangbusters, improv show.
Set
got
list.
the set list.
Set list at the
improvised stand-up. So that set list is a...
this is going to be in the...
a little noisy. Set list is like it's it's improvised stand-up, and it's a format from England or something.
It's
and the guy
invented by
like,
an American, but it was a British TV show.
oh, okay.
So it was created by Troy Conrad, and he and Paul Provenza and a third person sold it to Sky TV.
Uh-huh.
So it was a British TV show. I asked Troy if I could do a live version of it here. He runs various things all over the world, really. He has his own version of it at Meltdown at the Hollywood Improv, and it's been at festivals everywhere. And so I asked him if I could start one on Thursdays.
He's down to give you a blessing.
He said yes. So that happens at the Pack Theater.
Yes, and
every Thursday.
Every Thursday.
At 10:30. Then on Fridays, 11 p.m. upstairs at the Clubhouse. Gangbusters.
Stand-up and improv on that
That's
show.
Right. Soon to celebrate its 104th episode.
Wow, that's long. That's 2 years.
Yeah, every week.
And then, of course, you're going up all over town. You're going to Portland.
Yeah.
You're going to... Just have glasses around.
Yeah.
You got the Adderall and Ritalin.
Adderall is also one of them, but I don't take Adderall.
Okay. Well, if you need some, talk after the show.
Okay. We shouldn't talk about it here.
Oh, you're
it's
right,
a Schedule 1 drug.
That's true. Okay, yeah. So he's not on Ritalin.
I am. I have a prescription for it.
He's not on Adderall. He is on Ritalin.
But it's extremely illegal to sell it.
Okay.
Or even give it away.
Oh, what was my next question?
Like heroin.
You can't give heroin away?
I don't think so.
That's too bad.
I've never tried.
If you have any extra, I mean, again, that we should talk about it.
This is a bad place to talk about it.
Yeah, in this aircraft hangar.
I feel like they might be recording this.
I wouldn't know. Jason, thank you so much. Check him out. Look for that viral BMX tweet.
You can follow me on Twitter.
You can follow him on Twitter.
Jason Van Glass. You saw how excited I was that I got 3 new followers.
3? Oh, yeah.
What if you followed me? I'd be like, what?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Great.
Go out there, follow Jason, go to his shows. Thank you all for tuning in each and every week. Until next time, this is Adam Papagan reminding you that there's a place you can go, and it's your mind. Good night.